When you were in court and you received your sentence, what went through your mind when you heard those words, life without parole?
It was like, I was numb, I was a zombie.
Dorian Mackeroy is serving a life sentence for 2 armed robberies he committed. The first when he was a minor. In the second, he stole a necklace from a woman who wasn't physically harmed.
They actually have 2 death penalties in Florida. The electric chair and life without parole sentences.
You see your sentence as a death sentence?
Yes, it's most definitely. Most definitely. It's a slow death.
In 1998, Mackeroy was one of the first people sentenced under Florida's prison releasee reoffender statute. That basically means if someone commits a felony on this list, ranging from murder to robbery, within 3 years of being released from prison, the prosecutor, not a judge, has full discretion to approve tougher sentencing.
When you first learned that prosecutors, state attorneys kind of take on the role of judge in these cases, what did you think about that?
I thought it was crazy. I'm like, y'all taking discretion out of a judge hand and put it in the state prosecutor hand, a person that has interest in the case.
Is this Dorian here?
Yeah, we went to see him Saturday. This one, he was in high school.
What do you remember about these years?
He was so active in sports. I remember sports because he was always good. He was
Must
at the
have been,
beach.
what, 5 or so here?
I think right here he was 6. He was
so
6.
cute. Look at that smile.
Still cheesing.
Yeah, he's got that same smile.
That
for
same
sure.
smile, yep.
When Dorian started having run-ins with the law, what would you say to him?
Boy, you better stop. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in something you can't get out.
What was it like when you learned that Dorian was getting a sentence of life without parole?
It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. The charge don't fit the crime. This one is totally, it's racial. If you look up with this sentence that he has now, it's like black males, young males too, with sentenced with this kind of charges.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know.
We started looking at the rapid explosion of prisoners serving life without parole sentencing in the U.S. And a big part of that equation is Florida.
Cary Aspinwall is a reporter with the Marshall Project. They've spent time researching the rapid increase of life without parole and found that of the 11,000 to 13,000 people serving this sentence in Florida, Black men make up 54%, despite only accounting for 16% of the population. Overall, about 2,000 people were sentenced under the PRR statute, like Mackeroy.
When we started looking at why that was happening, it's not that there are so many more murderers behind bars. So I think it's a combination of prosecutors not wanting to spend their limited resources on pursuing a capital offense, and the fact that it's just somewhat easier to get a life without parole conviction than it is a death sentence. Life without parole was supposed to be used for some of the most heinous or severe crimes. But the problem is there are a lot of people being sentenced to life without parole who never would have gotten the death penalty and still would not today.
Mackeroy received the same sentence as the Parkland shooter, who murdered 17 people and injured 17 others inside a Florida high school in 2018.
That raises the question, what about all these other people who are serving life without parole who didn't kill anyone? And should they get a second chance? Should their cases be examined?
Florida State Attorney Ed Brodsky is president of the Prosecuting Attorneys Association.
I just wonder if there are certain people who are kind of slipping through the cracks and getting these life without parole sentences when really they should be given another chance and they could live a reformed life outside of prison.
I think it's always important to go back and look and make sure that there are not any unintended consequences. The vast majority of the sentencing structure under prison release reoffender doesn't require a life sentence. They've had to have committed the most serious of felony offenses. So we're talking about a very small number of individuals.
One of the very specific things about this law is that prosecutors get to decide the sentencing. Well, I mean, I think this freaks people out, that the judge has no power over sentencing.
That was an act of the legislature And I think it was designed to send a clear message, to have deterrent value, to hold offenders accountable, to enhance public safety.
When you see, judges come forward and say, I would not have given that life without parole sentence, and you've seen that, does it make you think twice, like, should we be doing this?
Law enforcement here in the state of Florida and prosecutors are very interested in seeing that public safety is paramount here in the state.
Even though the victim wasn't physically harmed, do you ever think about how she was mentally and emotionally harmed?
Always, until this day. I think about it to this day. There's no one day do not think about the victim.
What makes you emotional talking about it?
How stupid I was. How her life has turned out.
For state attorneys who review your case and don't think your sentence should be reconsidered, what do you want to say to them?
They're not seeing who I am, what I have done. I have completed over 70 self-betterment programs. Dorian has the support of his family. Dorian has the knowledge to know what's right, what's important, what's right, what's wrong. Dorian has continued to be self-aware of his thoughts and his actions.